Welcome back, guys, to part two of my battle that I had against FearThePika. This was a 4th gen standard match. You guys know the drill. If I'll either leave an annotation in the video or a link to this part one of this battle, so be sure to check that out before looking at this part, which is part two. So anyway, we last left off. I had my Spiritomb set up at +6, but it did go down, so it's pretty much anyone's game at this point. So I went to Venusaur against the Starmie after taking a Surf from Hippowdon, and the whole reason I stayed in that last turn to take the Surf with Hippowdon, because I was doing some calcs on the damage just to see how much Surf would do, and that actually backfires later on. So I wanted to scout to make sure if it was the defensive spread, that the rapid spin defensive Starmie and not an offensive set. So he does reveal his last here, which is a Zapdos, and he does get up a sub after I missed the Sleep Powder. But now I've deduced that Starmie has Thunderbolt and not Ice Beam. So I was thinking the Zapdos was a sub Roost set, and Zapdos is pretty annoying for this team if Stealth Rocks aren't set up. So I was actually planning to turn his sub Roost set against him, maybe possibly forcing him into a Roost so I could Earthquake with a Hippowdon. And the fact that him subbing down and sapping its own health away would actually help me out. So I protected the Scout for the Heat Wave. He subbed predicting my switch, fearing the Heat Wave, and now I went into Fortress because now I'm positive he doesn't have Heat Wave, but he does have Hidden Power Ice, which he tried to use on my Venusaur. I actually thought Thunderbolt would be the only attack, so it got me wondering what the 4th move was. So I continued to scout the set, and I switched to Heatran, scouting for the Heat Wave. And when you know it, he goes back to Starmie, and I blow the one chance I have here to take Starmie out. I could have stayed and went for the payback, but instead I decided to go to Heatran instead. So anyway, I'm in a bad position once again. I should have seen this switch coming because he's done it twice so far earlier against my Fortress. So I'm forced to go to Venusaur as he recovers ups, and so this isn't going very well for me at all. And I believe this turn he's actually going to go for the Rapid Spin, and I'm just going to go for the Sleep Powder at this point, because the Starmie is actually really giving me problems. I'm so used to seeing the offensive Starmie and not the defensive one that just spins pretty much. It attacks, but it's built for spinning. So anywho, the Sleep Powder was the best move given the situation because Spiritomb is gone, so now he's free to Rapid Spin. I can't Leech Seed because he still got Shaman in the wings and Infernape, although I can protect to see what Ape blocks himself into, but I don't want to burn and protect on the chance he would switch to Infernape. So I just keep going for the Sleep Powder, thinking he'll switch, not wanting to take a Grass Stab, but he stays in and surfs, maybe predicting me to switch out, fearing the Ice Beam. But now at this point I know he's going to switch now, so I Sleep Powder a 3rd time, knowing that Starmie has Natural Cure, so I won't break the Sleep Claws. And he does go to Shaman. Now, after doing this, I realized that this could backfire as well, because he can just switch around and PP stall me out of Sleep Powders, since Starmie and Shaman have Natural Cure. Looks like he's going to do just that, because he does go back to Starmie, and I almost clicked Giga Drain there. Even though in hindsight it probably wasn't a one-hit KO, but it would have let me last longer, definitely, to take some more hits, which is what I really needed at this point. So I Leech Seed in case he wanted Ape to come in for some reason, and he goes back to Shaman here, and yeah, this actually kind of goes on for a while. I really needed Fortress with Spiritomb. I needed that combination so I could deal with his Shaman and his Starmie. It just, but now the Spiritomb is gone, things get really tough for me. Because if hazards were down, I could have tried to pay back with Fortress for the KO, or if Spiritomb was still alive, I could check Starmie and he wouldn't be able to spin. But now I've revealed Giga Drain, and now he knows that my Venusaur can't do anything to Shaman, so went to Slowbro, knowing that he would most likely rest at this point and not go for the Seed Flare on a Venusaur, just in case I might try to stay in. So I believe I'll think about this for a while here, because now he knows my entire set. So man, it gets really tough at this point for me, guys. So I think for a really long time here, but I believe I eventually go to Slowbro at this point in the game, knowing that he's gonna go for the rest. So, and he does just that. He goes for the rest, not the Seed Flare. And now at this point, I'm finally gonna predict the Starmie switch in and go to Fortress, hoping to one-hit KO with payback. But I should have done this earlier. Last time was my one chance to get rid of that Starmie, but now it's got more health because it recovered. So, and it's the more defensive rapid spinner, so it is actually not going to be a one-hit KO. So it was, at this point, it was just too little too late as far as trying to pull this off. I believe he's going to go for a Surf at this point to, I guess, try to finally take my Fortress down. And he does go for the Surf, and I hit it back with a payback, but as I said, it's not going to be enough. So it would have been nice if I got a crit there, but you know, you can't rely on those things. So he is low enough to where he could recover, but I did a calc and there was only a very small chance for me to live the next Surf, and I actually thought he would go for it at this point, and I really didn't want to risk it, so I end up going back to Venusaur at this point. But he does end up going for the recover, so it's like, wow, this could go on for a really long time at this point, and it does, it really does. He just recovers up as I go back to Venusaur. So I think I'm starting to play pretty bad at this point, because I think both of us just kind of start making obvious moves, and it's going to be up to one of us to break this cycle of switching around and making obvious plays. So he's going to go to Shaman, and I just go straight for the Giga Drain, and I probably should have just went for Sleep Powder again, but I mean, I'll explain later on. It seems kind of pointless at this point, so I'm going to protect just to scout what move he has to deal with Venusaur. And yeah, I believe he has Psychic, actually, and Psychic really surprised me. It got me thinking that his last move was definitely Earth Power, but he makes another play later on that actually gets me questioning if Earth Power is even the last move. So here I was certain, but later on I really don't know. So here I'm gonna go to Heatran at the risk of taking an Earth Power, even though it's Rest Talk Heatran, so it's pretty specially bulky, so it's not gonna be a one-hit KO, although it is gonna be a two-hit KO. But he does end up going for the obvious Psychic, and it doesn't do a whole lot to Heatran. So here I just make the obvious play once again, and I go for the Lava Plume at this point, I believe, and he's actually just gonna go into Starmie, and I really should have roared instead. of going for the lava plume, but I think I just wanted his poke gone at this point. It feels like I started to play desperate even a little bit, so it really sucks. But I do get the burn to force it on a timer, but the burn really didn't matter at all. And at this point, I just stay in knowing that Surf is not going to be a one-hit KO, because my original plan was actually to rest up after taking the Surf, and then I was going to start up a rest talk cycle and just go for the sleep talk. But then I realized he outspeeds me, so that means he's just going to use recover before I can actually finish it off. So I think about it for a while, but ultimately at the very last minute, after I take the Surf, I am going to go for the rest, but at the very last minute I decide that I'm not going to go for the sleep talk and start the rest talk cycle, and I believe I just end up going to Venusaur instead, because I know he's actually going to go for the recover here. Now, I believe after I bring Venusaur in, he's actually going to go to Shaman, and once again I do go for the obvious Giga Drain. And it was here at this point that I believe it was pointless to keep going for Sleep Powder, since he could just stay in with Shaman. Once he brings Shaman back in, he could just stay in with Shaman knowing that my Venusaur can't do anything to it. It has nothing to hurt Shaman at all. It can't Leech Seed. Giga Drain does no damage whatsoever, and the only thing I can do is put it to sleep and protect the Scout. So I know at this point a Psychic is coming, so I'm gonna go to Heatran, I believe. Now, let's see. I actually think he's gonna switch out. I believe so. He goes for the Psychic. He does get a special defense drop, so. And he's actually gonna go back to Starmie. And I believe here I go for the Sleep Talk, hoping to get Roar or Lava Plume. But unfortunately my luck is running out for Sleep Talk, and I end up getting Rest. So now I know a Surf is coming, and I really don't want to take one, even though I could survive one. That's just too much damage at this point, so I'm actually going to go back to Venusaur to take the Surf. And I mean, as I said, this switching around and around goes on for a while, and this is why I really needed Spiritomb. That was the biggest mistake of this game, was setting up Spiritomb that early. If I had not done that, or even if I had set Spiritomb up and switched him out after he got toxic, I at least could have been able to keep my Ghost. Feels healthy enough. I could have really dealt with this Starmie, but instead I ended up trying to set up a sweep and trying to muscle my way through his team, even though the opportunity had presented itself to set up the Calm Mind. So, but the way it wasn't clear, so I should have switched out. I should have definitely switched out after taking Registeel and Gengar out, but I didn't. So there's no use crying over spilled milk and crumbled cookies. So I'm thinking here for a long time at this point, because I did end up getting the Rest, unfortunately. But I am going to go to Venusaur to take the Surf, and I believe after that he's actually going to go to Shaman on the Giga Drain. I go for the obvious Giga Drain once again, but I actually come up with a plan in a couple of turns, but not until he makes an epic play. Of course I take the Surf, but the damage is really racking up on all of my guys, even though I'm taking the hits pretty well. eventually it's just he's really wearing me down at this point, and my options are really thinning out. So it's Venusaur and Starmie again. He goes to Shaman once again on the obvious Giga Drain, and I think at this point FTP realizes that I'm playing pretty obvious, so he's actually going to be the one to break the cycle of switching around. And he knows at this point that I'm going to make a switch back to Heatran, and he's going to predict that switch and actually go back to Starmie here, knowing that I'll go to Heatran. And I was actually trying to figure out when he would do this, but unfortunately I missed it, and he did it this turn. And I guess I was thinking maybe he would do it another turn, but he did it this turn, and I just failed to predict when he would do it. Because if I had predicted correctly, I would have just stayed in and gone for the Giga Drain. Would it have been a one-hit KO? Maybe, maybe not, but at least I would have gotten some health back, if nothing else. So now my hand is definitely forced at this point, but I actually come up with one last plan. I'm gonna bring Slowbro in because I know it can survive one Surf and a T-Bolt combination from this Starmie, and I can't damage Starmie with Slowbro, but I can at least go for a Toxic to put it back on a timer, and hopefully after that I can either force the Starmie out. I really don't want to though, I really just want the Starmie gone, so I go for it here, and he goes for the Surf, but he gets a crit, and that really sucks. That just, my plan went flying out the window on that one. So there's no way I'm going to be able to Toxic him, because now I'm in range for T-Bolt to take me out in one shot. So now I just, at this point I just switch out, I believe, predicting the Thunderbolt, and I actually go to Hippowdon on the predicted Thunderbolt. Now it is at this point that I realize that everything is taking so much damage to the point where any attack will one-hit KO on the switch in, with the exception of Slowbro. But again, now if I switch Slowbro in on a Surf, Thunderbolt is definitely going to KO it. And I kept doing different calcs in my head while I was doing all of this switching around, and as you guys just see here, a Surf is enough to take Hippowdon out, because I was actually miscalculating damage the whole time. I was calculating it enough to where I would just barely survive attacks, but I forgot to take into account Stealth Rock, and that I was taking 6% or 12% depending on the poke every time I switched in. So because of Stealth Rocks, which as I said before in part 1 ended up being key for him, because of the Stealth Rocks, he's actually able to score a lot of one-hit KOs on me, where normally I would survive. Just barely, but I would survive. But because of Stealth Rocks, it's actually bringing me in range every time I switch around and come in on a different Pokemon. So, and I have no layers on my end except Sandstorm, so, because I let Spiritomb go down earlier. But it's at this point that I'm definitely not going to be able to survive a Surf because of the rocks. And his Fortress goes down finally, and I believe my last guy is Venusaur at this point, although I think I still have Slowbro. I do still have Slowbro. So, and I believe I have Heatran as well, so I've got one last chance here at this point. So, as my hand is forced, the only way I can even have a chance of winning is if I go for the Sleep Talk, because I know I can take one Surf and I get Roar, and I don't get it. I get Rest. So seeing that, that is definitely going to be the game. It is game, and he's actually going to win out. So just over the next couple of turns, I do try to PP stall him out. And sorry guys, I did bump the camera. I don't even realize it till a couple seconds later after this. So yep, that's pretty much it. As far as trying to win this battle, that was my last chance. So that's the game pretty much. I just protect a bunch of times. I guess I was just trying to be a douche. Actually, not really. I was trying to see. I wasn't keeping track of power points. I was thinking maybe he'll run out of surfs, but that didn't really matter because he could just thunderbolt me and it would still 1-hit KO. So I mean, you know, that's how it goes. So this is the first Wi-Fi battle with this team where I've lost. But it was a great game for the Pika. Had a lot of fun playing you. I hope to play you again sometime. And yeah, there really is not much else to say, guys. I do apologize, guys. I couldn't pull it out this time. Couldn't pull it off this time, but definitely, hopefully next time I'll definitely be able to pull it off. So T-Bolt's gonna take Slower out, and that will be the game. So anyway, guys, don't forget to like, comment, and sub if you like what you saw. And Chun is out. Peace.